sponsorship of Sparks. Hey, and look at that. We're on to our headliner. So excited about this one. So Gretchen Schott is a passionate, results-oriented leader with a reputation for communication excellence. Gretchen joined Salesforce ExactTarget in 2008 as the manager of training services, and she's pioneered many strategic initiatives within the enablement field and was instrumental in developing with the development of the global sales and services kickoff event, development of also new employee sales training program, leading ExactTarget Hax-a-thon efforts, assisting in numerous mergers, acquisitions for ExactTarget as they integrated with Salesforce. Prior to Salesforce, Gretchen served as the Director of Professional Development for Sallie Mae, Vice President of Training and Development for J.P. Morgan Chase, and she's got a master's degree from communication from the University of Northern Colorado. So help me welcome Gretchen to the Spark stage.
Let's get out a while, but try to understand, try to understand. I'm a magic man.
When was the last time you were awed, shocked, or inspired? When was the last time you saw a magic show? Have you seen a magic show? Raise your hands. When was the last time you could name 5 magicians? If I asked you right now, could you name 5 magicians? Tonight it's ladies' night. Can you name 1 female magician? That's real. Hermione Granger doesn't count. If you saw my talk and you were thinking, I'm going to see a magic show, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I am not a magician. But magic has been a very big part of my life, and I'd like to share some of that with you tonight. My story begins with a famous magician by the name of Jack Gwynn. And when I share with you tonight about his life, I think you will find there's 5 things that he did to have an amazing and successful life. I am a descendant of the royal family of magic. Now, if you know nothing about magic, you know nothing about what that means, and you probably don't care. But I'm a descendant of the royal family of magic, and so allow me to share with you a little bit about my family history. Jack Gwynn was a famous magician, and he was known as the devilish deceptionist. He was known as the magician's magician. He was also identifying himself as the second famous, greatest magician ever. He traveled all over the world, and growing up, my family told me millions of stories about him and his travels. To me, he was known as Daddy Jack. He traveled to China and India and Burma and Tehran and all over the United States doing his vaudeville show. Sadly, he passed away in December of 1969, about a year and 8 months before I was born. But the stories my family have told me about him are phenomenal, and his legacy lives on as new magicians coming into their career are able to win the Jack Gwynn Magical Excellence Award. Did you even know that existed? For those magicians who are excellent in their craft, in all areas of their craft. But what made Daddy Jack, so exceptional? I think he did 5 things, and when I look back on my family and I think about my life today, I think there are 5 things that we can all embrace to have a more happy and successful life. And the first one was that Daddy Jack was not a one-man show. The whole family was involved in his show. Here's a picture of my family. Up on the left there is Daddy Jack with my great-grandmother Annie. On the bottom on the left is my dear Aunt Gigi being levitated by Daddy Jack. And then on the right-hand side is the family going into the 1960s Shrine Circus. And yes, he is on an elephant. He actually put animals in his show quite a bit, lions and elephants and other kinds of birds. And so he had this great passion for magic, but he also took that passion and he was passionate about his family and found a way to cooperatively bring those things together. So be passionate about your craft and be passionate about your family. The second thing that Daddy Jack did well was he had an amazing brand. When you look at him and you see pictures of him, and when you Google him after this speech and check him out, you will see that he had this great brand where he looked kind of like a devil. He had this dark, thin pencil mustache, or sometimes he had a goatee. He would wear all black. Sometimes he would wear all white. And he looked very charming, and he was very charming. And as he traveled around the world, he also incorporated Indian and Asian elements to his show, so he seemed very exotic. So everything you've ever seen in film, when you think about a master magician, he totally embraced that. He had a brand that worked, and it played well with his audiences. He also surrounded himself with very successful people, and in this case, very successful, beautiful women as well. These were women that were actually in his show. The second woman on the right is actually my great-grandmother, and the woman almost on the end, the second to the end, is my absolutely beautiful grandmother, Helen, who were both in his show. He networked well, and he surrounded himself with very successful people in entertainment. His stage show led to radio work. His radio work led to introductions to film producers. He met Orson Welles and was actually in the film Citizen Kane in an uncredited role. That's really him. If you look it up on IMDb, you can totally check it out. But if he hadn't been networking, and if he hadn't surrounded himself with other successful people, those opportunities would not have happened. Daddy Jack was sought out because he was also a very service-driven type of person. I mentioned he traveled the world. He traveled with the USO and did all of his shows during the USO for the troops. He was very focused on our troops and taking care of them and performing for them. And when he wasn't traveling across the world, he was performing in schools, and he was teaching children about the magic and the amusement that comes with magic and believing in something bigger than yourself, especially growing up in Chicago during a very dark and depressing time where children didn't always find beautiful things. He brought magic into their life. But more importantly, he was service-driven because in addition to doing all that, he also helped launch the careers of two other very famous magicians. Daddy Jack created props for Harry Houdini and Howard Thurston, both who had very successful magic careers, and never once did he seek to get any kind of compensation or even any recognition for the fact that he helped them build props that launched their careers. Truly a wonderful, wonderful man. So besides building a brand and surrounding himself with good people and being passionate about his craft and his family, he was a fantastic entrepreneur. How many people in this room today are entrepreneurs? And how many people in this room say, I want to be a magician? A couple. Awesome. Let's talk afterwards. I might know some people. Not everyone does that. It takes diligence to be creative and rethink the way in which you're going to do your business, especially in something like magic and performing. He was passionate about his work, and so I ask you, what is your passion? What are you doing with your passion to invest in having a more successful and happy life? When was the last time you looked at your gifts? What tricks do you have up your sleeve? What illusions do you put out there in the world? And do those illusions bring people closer to you? Or are they simply a smokescreen that prevent you from having any kind of real connection with an individual? Knowing more about my family, I would tell you that the lessons I've learned from hearing stories about Daddy Jack are these. Be passionate about your craft and be passionate about your family. Love your work, and make them work cooperatively together. We're on this life for such a short time, and if you can't have them work together, you're missing a big piece. Master your craft. You can't wake up tomorrow and decide to be a magician. I promise it won't work out well. You have to practice. Whatever you do today, master your craft. Become an expert at that. Develop your brand and make sure it's a brand that represents you and what you want to put out into the world. Surround yourself with successful people. Don't be afraid of the competition. Seek out the competition. He could have very easily been very intimidated by all these other magicians out there. Seek to cooperate with your competitors because you will learn from them. Mastering your craft and helping someone else master their craft only makes you better. And finally, give back. Be a part of a community and give back to that community. You may be asking yourself now, well, what are those magic words that I need to poof and have a successful and happy life? I have those words for you, and they are not abracadabra. Those words are what if. I believe. I'm committed to. So I ask you, are you going to be the bunny that's shoved into a box to be revealed only at a pivotal moment? Or will you choose to be the magician who's the mastermind that delights entertains, and possibly inspires. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. And know that a world where you purposely choose to bring joy and compassion and good out into it will come back to you 10 times. What gifts do you have within you? What magic is within inside you that needs to be revealed? What do you need to share? How can you be passionate, master your brand and your craft, surround yourself with successful people, and give back? Transform the world you live in today. You can absolutely do this. He was a magician during the Depression and was able to delight and inspire people and delight and inspire my entire family. You can do this. You simply need to believe. Thank you so much.
Try to understand.